Blood, sex, incest, and abortions, all in this episode of House of the Dragon. Not many dragons though. We open with a comical sequence of this slew of unsuitable suitors pining for Rhaenyra's power. It all escalates into violence and it was incredibly humorous. It was a great little moment of levity in this very dark, brutal show.
Protection? The princess has a dragon, you dumb cunt.
You dumb cunt indeed.
I don't like that one.
Caraxes and dives upon the princess's vessel as they sail back to King's Landing, and it was this stationary piece of a boat as a set, which didn't move on gimbals or anything. So the way that they did this was old school Star Trek style. They just moved the camera and then all the actors had to match the movement of the camera to make the illusion of the boat moving come true. Back in the day on Star Trek, all they would do was have a big stick with a tennis ball on the end, and if they went left, all the crew would go left, and they make the camera go left to make it look like the ship was being rocked. And I just love on this multi-million-dollar huge HBO production that they're still doing these little tiny low-budget tricks to make this a beautiful piece of cinema. Daemon ominously enters the throne room after his momentous victory in the Narrow Sea. He was named the king there and is wearing a crown. He ends up bowing the knee to his brother and telling him that he's completely loyal to the king and that there is only one king. We all know that he's scheduling some shenanigans that are soon going to ensue, but it was great to see everyone just on high tension, just wondering what's going to happen, what's going to go down in this crazy moment as this psychopath returns.
Add it to the chair.
Daemon and Rhaenyra have this great deep conversation here, and she reveals that she's not just a spoiled brat disobeying her father for the sake of it, that she has real, grounded and tangible feelings and fears towards childbirth, and of course she would. Her mother was just farmed out child after child until it eventually killed her. So of course she'd be frightened of this prospect to get sold away to some random man she has no association with and then just turned into this machine to make babies until eventually she dies. It was also an insight into how close these two are. Some people might go as far to say that they're a little bit too close.
Una no hadarani apikagoni seitax. The parsiri morkakotas. Enkos vochos potilundaor.
Eo munia mastas lir mundasmeister.
Daemon leads his niece into the festering streets of Flea Bottom, filled with debauchery and hedonism and chaos. Everything here just enveloped you in this fascinating cesspool. The cinematography, the lighting, the angles, the way it was edited, the music, all the actors, the extras, the performers, it all just washed over you, this disgusting yet new world that Rhaenyra is discovering for the first time. Also, Millie Alcock looked really cute in a little Oliver Twist garb.
He called me boy.
We juxtapose the exciting nightlife of Flea Bottom with Alicent taking care of her sickly king. It also showcased the two different choices that these women have made within their lives. Alicent is more reserved and doing the more traditional thing, but Rhaenyra is resisting this life of servitude with all she can, and you can see why. It doesn't look like a great existence.
You have a far kinder touch than they do.
Thank you, husband.
Suspenseful strings set the tone for this sickening sequence as we see the king rotting away, just laying on top of Alicent, fucking her. She stares into the void, just disgusted and trapped in this moment. It's all intercut with Rhaenyra and Daemon strolling through the bowels of this disgusting pleasure den. It's all intense and full on and immersive. Even though it was easy to see from a mile away, since the first time we ever seen these two characters interact with each other, it was still really visceral and shocking and confronting to see this incestual seduction between Daemon and Rhaenyra. Daemon ends up backing off and retreating out of the situation as Rhaenyra lusts after him, but the damage had already been done. There's so much stakes going on here. There's so much that can be lost, so much that can be broken, and it's just so momentous because of the incredible social profile that's being violated. Even though these guys have been doing it for generation, these fucking guys, but it's still obviously within this world incredibly profile. After Daemon's rejection, Rhaenyra reaches out for another piece of forbidden fruit in the form of the celibate Kingsguard Sir Criston Cole. This sequence is rather sweet and romantic, and even though the stakes are still very high and this is still a very dangerous moment to be acted out, it seems a lot more romantic, especially in comparison to the previous seduction that we've just witnessed. Sir Otto does have this intense moment of introspection where he wonders if he should tell the king about his daughter's heinous act. Even though he is manipulative and self-absorbed, he's written like a real human being. He's not 100% evil here. He's conflicted and troubled and just humanistic. It was also very satisfying to see Viserys call out Sir Otto on his manipulations of him. Even though the king is rather naive and seems to be very prone to poor decision making, he's not a cheap caricature here. He's not dumb. He's obviously been in this position for a long time and has some level of wit and intelligence. He just keeps on fucking up and seems to have a bad roll of the dice. And I like him as a character, but yeah, he's done fucked up a lot. But it was satisfying to see him on the ball here and finally call Sir Otto out for his manipulation.
You're so sick with ambition that you would have my daughter stalked, spied upon, awaiting your best chance to destroy her reputation.
I have no such intent, Your Grace.
You think yourself a cunning man? Your designs are obvious.
Seeing Rhaenyra just completely lie to Alicent's face, swearing on her mother's memory that Daemon never touched her, was eye-opening. There are no good or bad characters in this show. Every character is this complex mix of both good and bad. They're like Tony Soprano-esque conflicted people with all these choices going on that they're either trying to make right or failing at. It's all very well written and just a beautiful piece of drama here.
Daemon never touched me. I swear this to you, upon the memory of my mother.
When Daemon was brought before the king and just admitted straight up that he sullied Rhaenyra, it was intense and had me on the edge of my seat. Imagine your own brother admitting to fucking your daughter. Jesus fucking Christ, it doesn't get any more heinous and intense than that. Daemon's a fucking monster. He cares not for anything to do with this society. He just wants power and cares for old Valyria and the blood of the dragon. I have to give props to Paddy Considine and Matt Smith for their performances here too. These fucking troubled brothers just screaming at each other, going back to back. It was amazing.
She's just a girl. Your niece.
Rhaenyra's a woman grown. Better her first experience would be with me than some whore.
In an awesomely awkward moment, the king finally confronts his daughter after all this drama has spilled throughout the entire kingdom and everybody has known of this heinous act and has been speaking about it. But then for some reason, well, I know why, he's bringing up that her desires aren't bigger than the crown, and even more so than that is this prophecy of a Song of Fire and Ice and that knife that Arya used against the Night King when she stabbed him and he was a vampire, and when he died all the White Walkers just exploded, and it was just... Anyway, the point is, this show is brilliant and I love it, and it's so well written and it's so complex and interesting, and every time they bring up a Game of Thrones, which they don't have to, which I just started talking about then, which started making me angry, I feel like I vomit blood into my mouth and have to re-swallow it again. Just stop with the Game of Thrones shit. We know this is a prequel. They're in the same fucking setting. Just, don't bring up a Song of Fire and Ice. Don't bring up the White Walkers. I don't want to imagine Arya stabbing the vampire-esque Night King in the chest again. I'm done with that. I had to live through that. Stop!
And his will be the song of ice and fire.
Viserys says that Rhaenyra has to now marry the Sea Snake's son, that her choice of choosing her own spouse has been completely taken away from her. And I kind of agree with him here. I mean, she's obviously gone way too far. I understand and empathize with her. Obviously, she's being forced into a terrible situation, especially after witnessing what just happened to her mother. But still, I mean, you gotta toe the line a little bit, especially if you do actually want to be the queen and have some power. Well, she does agree to this term, and I think she realizes that she went too far as well, obviously. But her one condition is that she asks for the head of Sir Otto. Makes sense. The guy's a piece of shit, and everybody, even the king can now see that he's after the throne and he's after power, and all he wants to do is get her out of there and get his grandson onto that Iron Throne.
The crown and the realm, both owe you a debt that can never be repaid. But I can no longer trust your judgment.
This episode ends with the king sending his daughter this potion that will poison her possible child, this medieval abortion. We don't see what she does, and it just cuts to black. And in conclusion, this episode was so dark and visceral and confronting, but it was very compelling and immersive. It just pulls you into this dark world with all these dark, twisted, grey characters struggling to find their place in the world, grasping at power or grasping at control or grasping at freedom, grasping at fucking anything. It was beautifully shot. The cinematography and the direction seemed a lot more interesting to me than the previous 3 episodes. And even though there were no big action set pieces or dragons or fights, I think that this drama, these characters' conflicts, this acting, it's all very immersive and brilliant, and I'm completely on board. This is the best show I've seen since The Expanse. Give me more. I'll see you cunts next week. Thank you and good night.